This journal belonged to a girl who was burning with rage after her elder sister was spirited away by a noble. In a certain village, there once lived a pair of sisters who loved each other. Their parents had died too soon, leaving the girls destitute, but they got by and helped each other. Then one day, the elder sister was taken as a mistress by the lord of the domain. No one had anything good to say about him. If this could have led to a happy life, the younger sister might have held back her tears and celebrated, but she guessed from the rumors that her sister would be toyed with and discarded like garbage once the man was done with her. Her guess turned out to be correct. Furious, she left the village to seek a way to save her sister because no one would help her. Eventually, she realized she had an aptitude for magic, so she cultivated her power in order to stage her rescue. But before she could reach her goal, her quest was cut short. Much was written in the journal. On the last page was a single simple line. It praised two adventurers, Momon and Nabe. She'd gone on a journey with them to gather herbs. I learned a good deal of the ways of this world from this journal, so I am indebted to you. I'll repay that debt to your elder sister. Aints stroked the faded leather cover and put the book away in his space. Then Lord Aints, there's a favor I'd like to ask of you. What is it, Demiurge? While I was reading the materials Sebas sent, there was one thing that interested me. I was wondering if I might have some time to investigate. Something caught your attention? Yes, there's a place I'd like to visit. I'd like to be back by the time you return, but I need to look for it first, which may delay me. It would be extremely rude of me to keep you waiting, my lord, but if at all possible, I beg you, Aints replied cheerfully, to put the grim-faced Demiurge at ease. No problem, Demiurge. You're acting for the benefit of Nazarick, right? Waiting for that doesn't bother me at all. You should go, thank you. On 24 late fire moon, at 3:01 p.m., Sebas and Solution's busy day began. They could have left without saying anything, but destroying the reputation they built as merchants would be a waste. So they decided to act as though they were returning to the Empire. Solution had met everyone only once. But Sebas took her with him to tell all the merchants and guildsmen he'd interacted with that they were leaving. The visits couldn't very well end with just that. For friendly human relationships, small talk was unavoidable. No man was averse to chatting with a woman as beautiful as Solution, either. This only exacerbated the situation. As a result, they were trapped at each stop for half an hour or more. It had gotten quite late by the time they finished. That took a long time, but the temporary storage and transport of the wheat is done. Now we should be free to return to Nazarick, right? Solution sounded delighted, which was rare for her. Sebas could tell she was happy to go home to the great tomb of Nazarick. She was also satisfied she had carried out their master's orders. Sebas had been doing the majority of the intelligence gathering around town. She probably hadn't encountered many opportunities to feel she was accomplishing anything with her work. The farewell visits they'd gone on were work. They were also a place for Solution to shine as the public-facing lady of the house. It must have been very fulfilling for her. She even seemed ready to start humming a song. In fact, thanks to her good mood while talking to all the merchants, negotiations on various fronts had progressed to their advantage. Even discounting their bulk purchase of wheat, the prices for the storehouse rental and so on were exceptionally low. Being a pretty lady has its perks. Reflecting on how great that must be, Sebas parked the carriage on the grounds of the mansion. He walked up to the door with Solution. Sebas took out the key and inserted it into the keyhole, but when he turned it as he always did, there was no click or response from the lock. Suspicious, Sebas furrowed his brow and looked at Solution. Was the door unlocked? When he pushed, it opened slightly. They left Sugia there alone. She never would have gone out on her own. There are a number of new scratches on the keyhole. There's a good chance someone picked the lock. Without waiting for Solution to finish, Sebas flung open the door. He didn't even think to consider a trap. If there was one, he would crush it underfoot. They'd already mostly moved out of the mansion, so it felt vacant and empty. He stepped inside, activated all his detection abilities, and searched for Tsuhya's Kai, the Kai of a living thing. But there was no sign of her. Tsuhya, Tsuhya, are you here? He shouted and searched the house. He looked everywhere, but she wasn't there. He couldn't find her, and he didn't discover any trace of what might have happened to her. It was as if she'd simply vanished. Someone definitely broke in. He didn't smell blood, so they must have just taken her. They've kidnapped her, and they demand. Sebas clenched his fists. It was a mistake to leave her alone while they said their goodbyes. His error grated on him. He'd been nervous about leaving Tsuya all by herself in the mansion. Thanks to their run-in with an underground organization, he had doubted danger could be too far away. The reason he'd left her alone regardless was because she was still frightened of other people and going outside. She hadn't healed from her trauma. Her composure during the audience with his master and the others was probably because she hadn't registered them as people. Her reaction back then hadn't been one of someone with mental scars, but of any normal person encountering monsters. Even just having her sit in the carriage could have been an issue, which caused him to opt for leaving her at the mansion. He also figured that since they totally destroyed the brothel, it would take time for their enemy to regroup and plan an attack. All he could say now was that he'd been too optimistic. Sebas was anxiously hurrying down the hall when a voice called out to stop him. It came from the drawing room. "Master Sebas in here, solution, is she there?" She couldn't be. He glanced in a moment ago. Still, he held out hope despite the slim odds. When he entered the room, Solution was standing in the middle of it holding a sheet of parchment. "It seems like something is written here, please let me see it." Without waiting for her reply, he snatched the parchment out of her hands. He activated a magic item, read the words on the sheet, and crumpled it up with a furious expression. "She was abducted, so I am going to save her." The response was quiet and measured. "I think that's fine." Sebas' eyes widened. He never would have expected that from Solution, but Lord Aintz's orders were to withdraw to the great tomb of Nazarick. She added, "Shouldn't you prioritize that? We were supposed to bring Tsuya." "Master Sebas, if you act on your own again, you'll be putting yourself in a very dangerous situation. Where are you even going to go in the first place?" They were kind enough to specify a time and place. "It seems they reconnected to the organization that was running the brothel I destroyed." "I see. But before you leave, you should report to Lord Ainz. If you hadn't destroyed the brothel in the first place, none of this would have occurred. Didn't this happen because you neglected Lord Aintz's wish that we operate quietly? If you act independently again, you'll be ignoring his orders again. Besides, have you forgotten what our master said?" The words flashed in his mind under whose name Tsuya would be protected. "Report to Lord Ainz. Tell him she has been kidnapped and ask what to do." 34 Late Fire Moon September 3:15 p.m. La la la. Cheerfully humming a song she made up, Albedo slid a needle through a loop of yarn. She tugged it tight. Again she inserted the needle. Again she pulled it taut. After several repetitions, she de-sewn black fabric onto a sphere made of white yarn. Next she stuffed some cloth into the white ball to make it especially round. She took a hard look at her yarn doll, which was nearly a perfect sphere, and then smiled tenderly, a smile brimming with love like that of a goddess. "Okay, Lord Aintz's head is done." Satisfied, she squeezed her hands into little fists, and then pet the figure's skull. It was an exceedingly adorable item. With oblique eyes and mouth, it would surely make Ainz blush if he saw it. "Next, I need to make his body." She very gently placed the skull on the corner of the table and got up to get the ball of white yarn. Albedo was in her room. Originally, she didn't have personal quarters, since she was assigned to defend the throne room. Ainz felt it was wrong for the captain of the Guardians of the Great Tomb of Nazarick not to have her own chambers, so on his orders, she'd been given one of the 41 Supreme Beings' spare rooms. Like Aintz's, Albedo's quarters were spacious. Since she hadn't had many belongings to bring with her, she honestly thought it was too empty. But after living there for 2 months, that was no longer true. One of the reasons was the dressing room she was about to open. It was completely full of Ainzes. Of course, they were artificial. She had innumerable Ainzes. There were life-size body pillows featuring him in different poses, and there were adorably deformed Ainz-shaped plushies. This was a top-secret chamber. It was an unbreachable holy ground where not even the maids who came to clean were allowed. She called it a harem room. Tee-hee-hee-hee-hee-hee. With an odd little shout, she took a flying leap. She slowed her fall with the wings at her hips and landed on a body pillow. The movement was reminiscent of a rugby tackle. Still embracing the pillow, she rolled across the floor with her momentum. There were all kinds of Ainzes strewn around, so it didn't hurt at all. From underneath 3 Ainz pillows, she giggled in that strange manner. Tee-hee-hee-hee-hee. My newest body pillow was made with Lord Aintz's sheets. In other words, I am indirectly sleeping with him. Tee-hee-hee-hee-hee. She buried her face in the pillow and sniffed. It doesn't smell like anything. She sounded extremely disappointed to the point of inspiring pity. Had anyone heard her? Aints was an undead who didn't require sleep, so he didn't use his bedroom to begin with. Plus, since his body was all bones, he didn't have any particular body odor. He did bathe to rinse off dust and the blood of his opponents, but his own body didn't secrete anything that would smell. Who is this? Could it be Lord Aints? But this virgin in love could detect Aints' non-existent scent, although it might have been an olfactory hallucination. He. Resembling a pervert more than a captain of the Guardians, she inhaled deeply with her face still buried in the pillow. Ah, I am so happy. As captain, Albedo bore the brunt of an extensive workload. Her job included many painstaking responsibilities, such as various tasks related to positioning Nazarick's soldiers and building the Area's security network, confirming Nazarick's internal security, and checking the statuses of everyone serving in the throne room. For that reason, it was very important to her to use this space to rest and recover. Oh, I want to see Lord Aints. I want to see Lord Aints. Ah, I want to see him. She was irritated with Narberl, who was traveling with him, but tightly hugging the pillow helped her decompress. Just then Albedo, she jumped. Cold sweat broke out on her forehead as she glanced around the room, face twitching. Then she realized she heard the voice via spell. If it isn't Lord Aints, what could it be? I just got a message from Sebas Solution saying that Tsuya, the woman he picked up, was kidnapped. So I am asking you to put together a unit to support him. When he said Tsuya, she remembered who it was right away. Immediately after Aints returned, he left for Rantel to be Momon, but she heard the rest from Demiurge, who stayed. Please forgive me for objecting to your decision, but is a lower life form, like a human, really worth the trouble of forming a special unit to save? I understand if the people responsible for the Sholtia incident are behind it, but no, I don't think it has anything to do with Sholtia. This time it seems a crime syndicate is lurking in the kingdom's underground. Then that seems even more Albedo. I promise to protect Suraninja on my honor as Aints Ulgaun. Do you understand? The tone of their conversation changed completely. His searing anger reached her loud and clear. Albedo's voice stuck in her throat. She couldn't speak. You get it right? You understand? I swore on my name to protect her, and then somebody kidnaps her. My friends and I came up with that name, and now someone is slighting it. Even if they didn't mean to, I can let that stand. After his declaration, his hatred seemed to abruptly subside. He probably quelled his emotions after they passed a certain point. Sorry, got a little upset with those kidnappers. Forgive me, Albedo. Now that her master's voice was more composed, Albedo finally calmed down enough to be able to speak. The wrath of a supreme being stressed her out, even when she knew it wasn't directed at her. There's nothing you need to apologize for, Lord Aints. Despite his physical absence, Albedo bowed low. So Albedo, this is an order. Rescue Suraninja and keep her safe and sound. Understood. And when we rescue her, we'll bring an iron hammer down on the human scum who displeased you. Yeah, I am counting on you. By the way, is Demiurge still there dealing with the wheat? Put him in charge of the operation. I'd like to go directly. No, Albedo, I need you to guard Nazarick. Send Demiurge, and tell him to be careful not to let his true identity be exposed. Okay, so I am leaving the royal capital stuff up to you and Demiurge. Do it right. Yes, my lord. The message ended, and silence returned. Albedo stood slowly and carefully tidied up the body pillows. I don't get it. There was a strangely hard glint in her eyes as she murmured those words. She was facing one corner of the room. One of the reasons she didn't let any maids in her space was because she didn't want anyone else touching her legion of Aints dolls. But there was another reason in that corner, the flag with the crest of Aints Ulgaun embroidered on it. Usually it was hung so it was visible immediately upon entering the room, but instead it was gathering dust in the corner. It received no respect or esteem there, just contempt, anger and hostility. Aints Ulgaun, how stupid. Albedo thought of the giant flag she hung instead of the Aints Ulgaun flag. It was too big, really like a great theater curtain. The great tomb of Nazarick belongs to you and you alone. I devote myself to you, and only you, my lord. Ah, I hope to hear your lovely name once more someday. Chapter 7, Attack Preparations 13 Late Fire Moon, September 6, 27 p.m. Climb had called guards who relieved Brain, and he headed home, finally reaching Gazef's house in the evening. Once free from the stresses of combat, Brain realized his stomach was aching with hunger. I am gonna feel bad if Stronov was also hungry and waited for me all this time. He pushed open the door to the house. His attitude was completely uninhibited. He acted as if he owned the place. Of course, he had permission from Gazef. Someone must have heard him come in. As he walked down the hall to the room he'd been given, footsteps were approaching. His guess that it was Gazef proved correct when the source of the sound came down the stairs. You were out a while, Unglaus. Where do you go? There was no censure in Gazef's questioning voice. On the contrary, he regarded Brain with bright curiosity in his eyes, as the latter tried to think how he could ever answer that question in a concise way. If you ray up for it, want to tell me over dinner? That was just what Brain wanted to hear. He rubbed his stomach and laughed. That's a great idea. Where do we eat? Gazef looked just a little surprised and guided him with a this-way gesture to the dining room. Are you going to have a servant cook for us, or are you going to make it yourself? Gazef grinned in response to the casual question. Definitely not. I am a horrible cook. Then he frowned and added, but maybe because she's getting on in years. My maid seasons things so mildly. When your job takes such a toll on your body, you want to eat something with a more robust flavor. I can get her to understand that. Brain chuckled and teased, so the captain of the kingdom's royal select has to eat bland health foods. Not the least bit offended, Gazef replied, that's right, with his usual frown. Maybe I should have treated you to my household's vegetarian cuisine, but I bought us something, I see. Then I'll have to thank you for being so thoughtful. Brain grinned, which cracked Gazef up a bit. Well, can you cook, Unglaus? He countered, but the blade only sliced through air. I can make anything fancy but simple things, yeah. When I was traveling around and training, I would been in trouble out on the road if I couldn't cook for myself. Gazef gave a curt aha. As they entered the dining room, he picked up a basket that had been left in the corner. It was nearly big enough to fit a baby inside. The scent rising from it faintly tickled his nose and stomach. The two men sat down facing each other. After taking the various foodstuffs out of the basket and making a spread, they filled their glasses to the brim with red wine and clinked them. They didn't make a toast to anything in particular. Instead, they took a silent gulp. The refreshing flavor of the young wine blossomed in their mouths. After a couple of swallows, they set down their glasses with satisfied sighs and chatted quietly. I haven't had a drink in a long time, Brain commented. Me neither. And actually I haven't even been home for a meal recently. Must be hard to work at the royal palace. Well, I do have a lot of duties as captain of the royal select. Do you guard the royal family? Yeah, that's my main job. Hearing about Gazef's life, Brain could tell what an upstanding guy he was. It would have been okay for him to bend or break now and then, but he hewed to the straight and narrow. The nobles must hate this kind of peasant. It seemed to Brain that his hunch was right. Nobles featured surprisingly little in Gazef's stories. Despite his fairly high position as captain of the royal select, most of his stories were about life as a soldier or serving the royal family. There was absolutely no mention of the luxurious world of ballroom dances and so on. In the neighboring empire, it was becoming less and less the case, but in the kingdom, the wall dividing nobles and commoners was still high and thick. Brain suddenly found his situation hilarious. He'd been honing his fencing skills in order to beat Gazef, under the assumption that they'd fight to the death the next time they met. Instead, they were drinking like old friends. Perhaps Gazef realized what Brain had been thinking, because he smiled. At the same time, Brain took up his glass and tapped it against Gazef's. Perhaps he was drunk. He bumped the table a bit too hard and the wine sloshed onto it. Hey, don't get it on the food. If we pour wine on it, it'll be wine flavored. It could be good. I don't have a terribly sensitive palate, so I don't mind. But are you the same way, Unglaus? Brain, call me Brain. Oh, then I am Gazef. Got it, Gazef? They laughed and clinked glasses again. Gazef's stories covered a wide variety of topics, all from a world Brain knew nothing about. Their conversation was rolling along when the captain nonchalantly asked, so Brain, how did a man of your caliber end up like that? He was cautious, like he would be when touching a blister. His studying gaze wasn't to sniff out the truth, but to express his concern most likely. Ah, thanks. The sudden gratitude made Gazef blink in confusion. His reaction was so funny that Brain's cheeks relaxed into a smile. Then he straightened up and replied, I encountered a monster. You mean like an ogre or something? I think it might have been a vampire. Her name was Shaltia Bloodfallen. The move I devised to defeat you, she repelled it with her little finger. Brain noticed Gazef's eyes widened slightly. I see, Gazef replied, and a manly grin spread across his face.